Hello students, today we are discussing our next topic from modern physics, which is de Broglie hypothesis. So in last lecture I explained you that what is called or what is the Planck hypothesis and Wien's law and Rayleigh-Jeans law. So our next topic is de Broglie hypothesis. So in de Broglie hypothesis, actually you already understand that what is the hypothesis which is mentioned by de Broglie. This phenomena is the connection between the wave theory of light, basically, because as you know that in Planck constant or Planck hypothesis, I told you that some of the phenomena of light like interference, diffraction, which cannot be possible without wave theory. But at the same time, if we discuss that photoelectric effect, Compton effect, then in that particular or Planck equation E is equal to NHF, that equation we know that the light or the energy is in the form of photon or in the form of particle, that is called quanta. So this is the actually contradictory relation between the wave theory of light, that how we can assume that the particle is behave like a wave or behave like a particle. So this de Broglie hypothesis is basic understanding or basic explanation of a dual nature of light. So in this phenomenon, uh, like I already discussed this topic, that other hand the phenomenon of photoelectric effect, Compton effect, and discrete emission and absorption can only be explained on the basis of quantum theory of light. So according to which light is propagate in a small packet of energy, that is h nu. So we discussed this equation h nu in our previous lecture. Which is E is equal to NH nu or NHF, you can write. So N is the number of photon, H is the Planck constant, and nu is the frequency. So with the help of this equation you can calculate the equation of photon or equation of energy. But this equation represents the particle nature of light. So this is the contradictory that once we discussed that in interference we superimpose two different waves, and then we can observe some kind of resultant wave pattern or some kind of resultant fringes like dark and light fringes. But what should if we do not understand that what is the wave nature or what is the dual nature of light, so then we can say that light possesses dual nature. So sometimes this quanta behave like a particle. So de Broglie proposed that the idea of dual nature is associated to both wave and particle characteristic with every particle. So de Broglie also indicate that the matter possesses particle nature. So according to de Broglie, a moving particle, whatever its nature, has wave propagating associated with it, if any. So the de Broglie proposed that the wave nature and momentum of a particle is, so wavelength and momentum of particle is lambda is equal to h upon p. So here p is a momentum, so a is equal to h upon mv. So as you can see, this equation is famously known as the de Broglie equation or de Broglie equation to find out the lambda or the momentum of a particle. So but if we understand this equation in other meaning, that this equation represents both the natures of light, which indicating that if lambda is calculating, then lambda is indicating the wave nature of light, and p is a momentum. So every time what is the momentum, that means p is equal to mv. So it is indicating the particle nature of light, because if we put p is equal to mv, then m is what? M is the mass of a particle. So we indicating lambda of a wave also, and we are indicating the mass of a particle also. So this equation indicating both nature of a light waves, that is called particle nature or it is a wave nature. So de Broglie suggests that every time any single particle is also behave like a wave. So if any single particle, we are considering if any single particle, and if we have energy of that photon, that is E is equal to hf, but that particular particle is also behave as a wave also, then it has some lambda also. So this is the basic fundamental idea of a de Broglie hypothesis. So equation is simple. Lambda is equal to h upon p. H is a Planck constant and p is a momentum of a particle. But after that, when this single equation is find out, then there are some other representation of this equation also. So we are expanding now lambda is equal to h upon v in a different formation of equation. So that particular equations you already studied in 12th standard, and you already calculate so many examples, and to find out lambda or to find out momentum of a particle or momentum of a photon or a momentum of a electron or velocity of electron. So we are only just repeat that equations. So here momentum is also suggest as a p is equal to E upon c. So where E is hf upon c. So c is the velocity of light in a vacuum. So according to de Broglie hypothesis, a material particle in motion has a wave of wavelength lambda is equal to h upon mv, where m is a mass and v is the velocity of a particle. Now the different formation of this equation is, if we take kinetic energy of a material particle, then we know that k is equal to p square upon 2m. How we can say that k is equal to p square upon 2m? If k is equal to half mv square, if k is equal to and divide and multiplied with m. So here m square v square upon 2m. So m square v square is p square upon 2m. So kinetic energy of a material particle is p square upon 2m. So p is a subjective formula, then under root of 2mk. Now instead of p, lambda is equal to h upon p. So lambda is equal to h upon under root of 2mk. So with the help of kinetic energy of a particle, we can calculate lambda of that particular particle. So as you can see here also that with the help of energy of a particle, we calculate the wave nature of a particle. So we calculate the lambda of that particle, means how particle is creating particular waveform. That is why we are calculating lambda is equal to h upon mv. So this is also the relation between, or it is also the representation of dual nature. So this is the equation of de Broglie wavelength of a particle associated with kinetic energy. Another equation is, if we consider a charged particle of charge q and accelerating through a potential difference v. So instead of a kinetic energy, we require qv. So q is a charge of a particle and v is a potential. Means if we accelerate electron with the help of potential difference, then energy is become qv. So the another formation is lambda is equal to h upon under root of 2m qv. So instead of k, we have to take q and v. So q, suppose we calculate for electron, then the calculation is become So now for electron, so here H is a Planck constant 6.625 10 raised to minus 34 upon 2 m q. 2 into m mass of electron, charge of electron is 1.6 10 raised to minus 19 into 1 upon under root of V. So this is the calculation where we can find lambda is equal to 12.3 upon under root of V in angstrom. In the angstrom or in meter, it is 10 raised to minus 10. So if we change potential or whatever the value of potential, we can put here and calculate the lambda of the particular electron associated with. So this is the second formation of de Broglie equation. Now with the help of temperature, we can also calculate lambda with the help of temperature. So when material particle like neutron is in thermal equilibrium at temperature T, capital T, then they possess Maxwellian distribution of velocity, and so their average kinetic energy is given by K is equal to half mv square is equal to 3 by 2 kBT. So Kb is a Boltzmann constant and T is absolute temperature, means in Kelvin. So with the help of temperature, if we raise the temperature with the help of Maxwellian distribution, the particle or the neutron is accelerating or it gets the kinetic energy. So here you can see that V square is proportional to T. So and m and Kb is both are constant. Mass is a fix for neutron, and Boltzmann constant is also fixed. So you already know this equation. We can also write V is equal to half is cancelled out, so V is equal to under root of kBT upon m. So with the help of we can calculate Vrms of the particular particle like neutron, for proton or hydrogen, or at a different temperatures. So with the help of this equation, if K is 3 by 2 kBT, then we can write here instead of Ek 3 by 2 kBT, that means 2 is cancelled out, and 3 m kBT. So this is the formula. So with the help of temperature, we can calculate lambda. So m and kb is a constant, h is a constant, only T is changing. So all these equations are useful to calculate all the physical quantities, like we can calculate temperature also with this equation, or mass, and from this equation we can calculate potential of that particular particle, or a charge of a particle, or a lambda of a particle. So what are whichever the variables are given, and you have to calculate the other variable which is mentioned in the questions. So this is the formulas which we can use to calculate, and our one equation is lambda is equal to h upon p, but these are the different formations of a de Broglie equation. So this is the theoretical verification of de Broglie equation. We have to verify this equation. So E is equal to hf, energy of photon. Now another equation which is for mass correspondence, that is E is equal to mc square. Now these both are the equations of energy. So and P is equal to mc instead of P is equal to mv, because here momentum in a vacuum, so that is why P is equal to mc. So this is the comparison of these both energy equation. Hf is equal to mc square. So now divide this equation with P is equal to mc. So here m and c is cancel out 1, then hf upon P is equal to c, or P is equal to hf upon c. So c is equal to we know that f lambda, c is equal to f lambda. So lambda is equal to c upon f. So here we can put 1 upon lambda instead of f upon c. So this is the final equation we get from this relation. So p is equal to h upon lambda, or lambda is equal to h upon p. So this is the verification of a de Broglie equation from these two different equations of energy and the energy of and the equation of momentum, which is p is equal to mc. So we have to verify the equation. So this is the simple steps of verification of the equation. So one more thing, that this de Broglie equation is only applicable for small particles like neutron, proton, electrons. If we have larger mass, then we cannot use the de Broglie hypothesis or de Broglie equation. So it is only applicable for small particles or matter particles. Now our next topic is Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So this principle is actually is a kind of a definition, and to prove that definition we have to take one example to prove the uncertainty principle. So what is uncertainty actually? That if we consider one wave particle, so we already discussed that particle is possess both the nature wave and particle. So if we take some kind of a number of waves, and in that number of waves we have a different kind of so many different particles which possess some photon energy. So that kind of waves is particularly known as a wave packet. So as we know that particle is having both the quantities, that particle is having lambda also and particle is having momentum also, that particle is having velocity also and wavelength also. So Heisenberg suggests that if any single particle, we are considering if any single particle, that we cannot calculate at the same time the momentum and the position of particle. If we try to measure momentum of a particle, then the position is become uncertain, and if we consider position of a particle or try to find position of a particle, then the momentum of a particle is uncertain. So this is the clear idea, this is the clear definition of a de Broglie hypothesis. So in this particular topic we try to explain this particular principle with the help of two different examples. So if we consider a particle or a wave packet, a particle may be thought of as a wave packet formed by a superposition of number of waves of different wavelengths. Such a wave packet has some linear extension, that is delta x. So it may be assumed that the particle may remain anywhere within the distance delta x. Therefore we cannot say definitely at what point a particle is present. As the wave packet is formed by the superposition of number of waves of different waves, we cannot say definitely what is the wavelength of that particular wave packet. So what is the basic idea is, so first of all only we can say that the wavelength of the wave packet is within a certain range of a wavelength delta lambda, as the momentum of the particle p is equal to h upon lambda. So the momentum of the particle is also within a certain range. That is, we can not definitely say what is the value of the momentum of that particle. So first of all, if we consider only single wave, So the extension of the wave is minus infinity to plus infinity. But we know the lambda of that particular one single wave. So in one wave, we suggest that if we consider one particle, then particle has so many number of probabilities for the position. Means particle is here, or it is here, or here, because it has so many places to sit down or um, to take the position. So what is the meaning of this equation is that we know the lambda of this particular wave, but we don't know the position of a particle, because particle has so many number of position or so many number of space to move on. Like if we take one example, that in one particular classroom, one big classroom, we have only one student. So student has so many probability to sitting down, that he can study, he can sit on first bench or in last bench or in the middle of anywhere. So like that, particle has so many probabilities. So lambda is certain, but at the same time delta x is uncertain. So we don't know delta x, means we don't know the position of particle, but we know the lambda. So that is why momentum is fixed, but delta x is uncertain. So delta x is become infinity, because we don't know delta x or uncertainty, and delta p is tends to 0. Tends to 0, that means we have some values, or we have some finite number for delta p. So that is why it is 0. So this is the first explanation, that how we can assume that we have to identify the momentum of a particle. So this is one suggestion or one example only. You can take any examples, whichever you want, that how we can calculate momentum or how we can calculate delta x. Now in second assumption, so we see that due to wave numbers of particle, there is uncertainty in delta x in the position of the particle, as also there is uncertainty in delta p. With increase in the number of superpositions of a wave, and also with the increase in the range of their wavelengths, the linear extension delta x of the wave packet decreases, but at the same time the uncertainty delta p depends upon the delta lambda, which is increasing. So in our previous case, uncertainty in delta x is increasing, because we don't know the position of a particle, because we have only single wave. But in second assumption, if we try to superimpose so many waves, not a single wave, we try to impose or superimpose so many waves, so what will happen is the extension of a particle is become narrow. Means if we we remember our previous example, that we consider one classroom and we have only one student, but instead of one student, now there are so many students are entering in the classroom. So now what will happen, that students try to fix their places on the bench or on the different places in the classroom. So that particular example is related with the superimposed of so many waves. So if we take so many waves and we superimposed on one another, then the particle extension of a particle is become narrow, but at the same time we cannot define the particular value of lambda from that wave packet. So we cannot define lambda, but we define delta x. So what will happen is now that delta x is is 0, but delta p is uncertain. So delta p is become infinite because we don't know one such value of a lambda. So uncertainty in delta p depends upon the delta lambda. So and we don't know delta lambda, that is why uncertainty in delta p is increasing, but uncertainty in delta x is decreasing. So with the help of this equation, or with these two different example, we take the equation formation of this uncertainty principle. So from above discussion, we see that both the position and momentum of a particle become uncertain. The uncertainty delta x in the position of the particle and the uncertainty delta px in the momentum of the particle, when measured at the same time, are such that if one increases then other decreases. So that is delta x is proportional to 1 upon delta px, means one increases then another decreases. Delta px is increased, then delta x is decrease, or delta px is decrease, then delta x is increase. So this is the inverse proportion between uncertainty in position and uncertainty in momentum. So this is the general formulation: delta x delta px equals to constant, and according to Heisenberg it is greater than or equal to h cut, where h cut is h upon 2 pi and h here is a Planck constant. So greater than or equal to h cut means whatever the value of delta x or delta px, it cannot be greater than or equals to h cut, means the value or the multiplication of these both values are greater than or equal to h upon 2 pi. So h is a Planck constant. So similarly in y direction we can also say that delta y delta py and delta z delta pz. So this is the equation of Heisenberg which we can use to calculate uncertainty in position or uncertainty in momentum. We can also calculate velocity or a mass of a particle because p is equal to mv. So there are so many different kind of calculation which is possible with the help of this equation. So the basic idea is basic understanding of this principle is that we cannot simultaneously measure the momentum and the position of a particle. If we measure a particular parameter, then the another one is uncertain. So this is the correlation between these two particular parameters. So now I stop here. So our modern physics topic is finished here. So from next lecture we are discussing about our our DC circuit, in which we have a diode circuit, half wave rectifier, full wave rectifier and a filter circuit. So today I stop here.